Kia ora e te iwi and welcome to another episode of Playmakers. Joining us today is Silver Fern goal shooter Maia Wilson. Kia ora e hoa, welcome.
Kia ora e hoa. Thank you for having me today.
You are very welcome. Now, you're our first official netball guest in our new studio, so welcome.
I know, I feel very privileged to be the first, so thank you.
Very good, very good. So, one thing I've always wanted to know about you, knowing that you had a little bit of, you had your basketball journey and netball. In terms of the netball, how did you find netball or how did it find you?
Oh, it's a really interesting story because I originally started playing soccer when I was younger, and as soon as the field got full size, this beautiful, bold, Māori young girl did not want to run up and down a soccer field. So we turned to netball, and it was a sport that my mum had played when she was growing up. I definitely had the height, and the court was a lot smaller. So I thought, why not give it a go, and sort of fell into it from there, and have been fortunate enough to play alongside some pretty amazing people and coaches who have shown me the pathway to finally get where I am today.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you're still very quite young, but you've taken kind of that traditional route of coming through the schoolgirls divisions and working your way up to being what commentators are calling you one of the best goal shooters in the world. So talk about that journey coming through schoolgirls. Is that, if there's an aspiring young girl wanting to be a Silver Fern one day, is that the path?
I was very fortunate that I did go to a pretty prominent netballing high school at the time, and it definitely is the reason why I am where I am today. The foundation that was laid at MAGS at the time has pretty much set me up to be a Silver Fern. I was with some world-class coaches, and there were things that we thought we learnt were basics, and really there were some of these skills that some didn't learn until ANZ. So very fortunate enough to have that foundation quite young, and being quite a prolific school, we had that profile that meant spectators and selectors always had their eyes on us, I say. So yeah, very lucky to go through New Zealand secondary schools. Picked up, I think the first time I went to a Silver Ferns trials, I was 16. I wasn't a trialist, but I was just an extra body. That was amazing. Pathway through to New Zealand A, and then finally the Fern. So it has been very worthwhile for me.
So obviously you are where you are with the Silver Ferns right now. In terms of basketball, what was that decision like for you? Because your career could have gone down a very different path.
Yeah, definitely. I had always played netball and basketball alongside each other since I was in third form at high school, and I was very fortunate enough to be able to travel internationally in terms of going to China, going to Hong Kong, some really amazing places with basketball. At 16, I made the Tall Ferns, and I had always had this goal of being a dual international. So as it came time to make a decision towards the end of my high school career, it was out of netball and basketball, and that Silver Ferns goal hadn't been ticked off yet. I did have options to go to the States on a college basketball scholarship. However, I feel like I have chosen the pathway that has been quite beneficial to me. But definitely miss basketball. I am very, very rusty. Would love to be able to pick it up in the off season, but unfortunately that's not the case, and I'm very fortunate enough to have the career that I do in netball.
What was the determining factor? What did it really come down to?
Oh, that was hard. I had gone to the States and had a look at a few colleges, so that was definitely an avenue that I was very serious about. And then I had come back straight into my first World Cup trial for Sydney, I think it was. So coming to it, I had been idolising the likes of Laura Langman and Casey Korpua and Katrina Rore, Maria Tutaia Falau. So to be able to be alongside them and play with them was something that was a dream, and a dream that could have become a reality. So I was fortunate enough to do that, and I think seeing that pathway and the possibility of the ANZ champs was something that I wanted to tick off and ultimately lead to the Ferns.
That World Cup, it came as a surprise to many about you not making that squad. And while we've heard all the stories about those who got selected and, you know, the feeling they had and da-da-da-da-da, you don't really hear about the ones that, you know, got the unfortunate call that they hadn't. When you did get the call, what was that like? And how long did it take you to realise that, okay, didn't make this one onto the next?
I was on a plane coming back home to Auckland and knew the calls were about, and I sort of said to myself, I hope I get that call while I'm flying. Just being around so many other girls that were all getting calls as well, I knew I probably was the one who had the best shot in my team, and I didn't want to have that emotional breakdown in public. It was a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
I felt like I had started that ANZ Premiership season quite well, and then I think it was that teetering off at the end was probably the deciding factor into the reason why I didn't make it. But, you know, it took a few days, but I thought to myself, again, that potential retirement's coming up, and if I'm on that brink, I could be that next person. And it just found like I had this training strength behind me. I knew that I could do it. I really believed in myself. It was just sort of when that opportunity comes, I need to take it with two hands.
And now we see this fire in your belly that we probably haven't seen before. I mean, you've always been a talented shooter, especially when we've been watching you in the Northern Stars. But there was something about it felt we were watching kind of the evolution of Maia Wilson after not making that squad. And now you have international commentators saying Maia Wilson, the best goal shooter in the world. I mean, talking about pills to swallow, that's a huge call. But I mean, how do you absorb that? Do you think that, you know, this is, you know, a result of, you know, all that hard work, working from, you know, decisions like that in the past?
I definitely contributed to that hard work. I also contributed to the environment that's been surrounded around me. I think within the Ferns at the moment, it's the most amazing group of women, and really to uplift each other. It's not about an individual, it's about a collective, and I really buy into something like that. So to have the belief and support of not only my peers, my colleagues, my friends, but also the management group around that gave me even more belief in myself. And it's probably something that I needed. I was still young, I am still young, and needed a bit of recognition and belief from my peers to be able to do my job. And getting that starting bib in Nations Cup earlier this year, I was an absolute gobsmacked. I didn't really expect it. I knew I had probably trained the best I had ever trained behind closed doors within a Ferns environment, but knowing that I was definitely going to get game time, I didn't realise it was going to be that much. And after those few games, I felt like I just had found my rhythm.
I would say in that Nations Cup, you were like a woman possessed. You were just playing out of your skin, 100% shooting games on the international stage. Well, I'm pretty sure
Not
was
yet,
that series?
but close.
Was it that series? Or am I getting this mixed up with the Stars?
Maybe the Stars.
Maybe the Stars, yeah. But 90s at the very least, you know, the continuity that you've been putting on court. I'm not surprised that, you know, you've been getting these call-ups and where you are now. What was the advice that was given to you? So you didn't make that World Cup side. I mean, what were your instructions? Because I'm guessing, you know, it would have, you know, the conversation might have been something like, you haven't made it this time, but if you do, you know, tamir, then when this comes around again, you know, you have a better shot at it perhaps. Was there any advice?
Yeah, I think one of the main things after that World Cup selection was we were going into Cadbury, and the first thing Knowles had said to me was, we want you to have a look at your goal attack game. You are fit enough. And it wasn't necessarily because she wanted me to change myself into a goal attack per se. It was more to open my mind from a goal shooter's perspective and seeing how the ball comes down, with positioning, all those more ball handling as well. And I had felt that given that opportunity, it added another bow to my string. I'm still not there yet. I haven't really had a good run at goal attack, and I'm not sure if I'll get there anytime soon, but I'm confident in the fact that if I was put out there, I'd be able to do my job. And I think going ahead, looking forward, I was able to I feel more confident, see the space and really play with a lot of vision. Now like I said, I'm just feeling really good in myself and confident, and that comes from a lot of Knowles' advice of, you can do the job, we just need to see you do it a bit more consistently.
Now, one of the other things that have come up in the media, and you and I have had a little corridor about this, we've touched on it, is body image and what that looks like on court, and what the media perhaps perceive as what a netballer should look like in terms of their fit. And of course, we know with our Māori and Pacific girls, good luck with that.
Yeah.
You know, the body will do what the body will do when you put it under intense training and strengthening routines. But for you in particular, coming into the Silver Ferns, that was a big talking point. So how do you kind of keep your head in the game and go, hey, what about, my percentages? What about my performance? And maybe try and shift the way that you think about women in sport.
Oh, I love this topic. It's something that I talk to with many of our Māori and Pacific girls within high performance netball. We're not built the traditional netball body type. We are strong, we are powerful, we have hips, we have curves, but we know how to use that to our advantage. And I think, coming into it, I've always been a bigger girl, but that was my strength. As I was younger, I never necessarily trained a lot. So coming into this professional environment, I really learnt how to train, push my body. But I have seen a shift in probably the last 18 months of people making comment on my body. And it wasn't until a friend had talked to me about it saying, what do you think about that? Like, does that make you feel a bit insecure? And I thought, well, in some aspects, I look at those comments and I'm like, was my body not good enough, or was it not the ideal back when I was a bit bigger? But to me, that Maia represented so many people, and it gave so many girls the chance to say, hey, look, she looks like me, and look where she is. That can give me the opportunity to be there one day. And I have found over time, especially in this last year, I have fit into more aesthetics.
Yeah.
So you will see me in a few more promos or in the tight dresses, and I feel really confident in my body sometimes, but a lot of the times I have my own issues, whether I compare myself to other athletes and being like, I'm not the size of such and such. I step on the scales and I have massive issues. It's a mental battle.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm still going through, and I'm not there yet. But I need to remember and believe in myself that I'm a strong woman and I've got a strong build. And if it wasn't for my build, I wouldn't be the netballer I am.
Word. Amen to that. I couldn't imagine, I mean, and you say you're still young and you're going to work through it. I mean, I am considerably a lot older than you are, and I still go through it, and I've had tamariki, and, I think as women sometimes it's a pressure that's put upon us.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It's, we don't say that of our rugby men or our NRL men, but that is, like you say, the vision of what they should be looking like in their chosen field. But ka pai you.
And I think it comes to the point where I have to learn that actually sometimes putting on a few kgs is a healthy thing, but sometimes societal pressure can fat shame you to be like, no, you need to be to the lightest that you were, but sometimes in a performance space, that's not where it is at.
Exactly.
And that's where I'm still trying to get to.
Yeah, and it must just pee you off sometimes, when you're getting the results and you're doing really well, but the focus is somewhere else.
Or when people are like, oh, she's put on a bit of weight, like...
And TV is not forgiving, I'll tell you.
Oh, no, honey boo-boo, no, it's not. No, it's not.
It's not fair. Anywho. But moving on from that, but ka pai you, you're doing amazing things and cannot wait to see you, just forge ahead with this and carry on. But we're going to switch gears a little bit. There was An interesting thing that happened in the Suncorp Super Netball competition in terms of their Indigenous round, where they dedicate the round to, the first people of their land. And there was an instance where the only Indigenous player in the tournament wasn't put on the court. There was a bit of an uproar on social media and whatnot. But a little while after, there was a kōrero from you about why Aotearoa don't have an Indigenous round here in New Zealand. And I thought, yeah, why don't we? But talk to that and, what the idea is behind that.
Yeah, looking at the Suncorp Super Netball, I actually admire that they have an Indigenous league. It's something that we do not have as of yet, and I know there's still a lot of mahi that they need to do to make sure that they are respecting and upholding their First Nations people. A long way away from where they're at right now, but I think if we look to us, we as a country are so diverse, and I think being a young Māori woman, I'm very pro engaging with kaupapa Māori, te ao Māori within our Northern Stars environment. I think that's really important to know your heritage, know your whakapapa and the history behind getting to where you are. So I would love to see some type of round introduced into the ANZ Premiership. I have heard there are whispers going on that this potentially could happen. I haven't necessarily talked to anyone in Netball New Zealand as of yet what that would look like, but I would like to see more engagement from franchises with iwi, learning their whakapapa, learning their history, and being able to have that synergy, because in my perspective, being Māori or being Aotearoa, being Māori First Nation is our point of difference, and it's special, and it's something that we can celebrate. And to have everybody on the same waka celebrating such an important kaupapa would be awesome, but I would love to see representatives from each franchise working together to collaborate what this potentially could look like.
And sometimes we forget that the identity and that sense of belonging is, well, especially for we can speak to Māori, is a lot to do with what you see out on the court and that sense of belonging and things like that. Is that something that's important to you?
Yeah, definitely. It starts with the individual, but if you look at te ao Māori, it's not about the individual itself, it's about the collective, and I think that's something that we have merged within various netball teams in New Zealand, and by giving that player that sense of identity, that culture, that tūranga waiwai, and understanding where they stand, their feet, is really important. And ultimately, if you have a really confident person, you're going to have a better player, and that's going to contribute to the collective. So, bringing all those things together should help a team's performance, and especially their culture.
One thing I was really impressed at when watching the Silver Ferns in particular was watching those Māori coaches, on the world stage, succeeding, yeah, cool, but at the same time watching our mana wahine leading the way in, the number one sport for women, sitting there together as a rōpū and putting out this international product that all of Aotearoa can be proud of. What is it like to be coached under, are they like aunties, or, what is the environment like when you're coached under, a group like that?
I think it's beautiful. It starts from the top and it filters down, and I think that's something that's really important towards a team culture. They are so different, but it blends, and it's a beautiful blend, and I'm so grateful that they have their own life experiences, they have their own whakaaro, and we all bring it into this big melting pot and have been able to produce something that's spine-tingling, I think. And to even look at, if we talk about things Māori and Māori people, how amazing that last Cadbury series was just a month or so ago, and seeing the 4 captains of each team all being Māori, that's very, very special. I think sometimes there's a narrative that us Māori are not necessarily born to succeed, but I completely disagree. I think we whakapapa hail from chiefs and wisdom, and there's so much beauty behind it. So to celebrate that, and in total to celebrate the sport, is something that I feel like we do really well in this country, and we're world leading in that aspect in terms of netball, so that's quite special.
Yeah, the word that springs to mind on that is that representation, showing our people that doesn't matter where you come from, any corner of Aotearoa, where our Māori people are, they're in every corner of the country, but that they can, that when we're there, we're kind of, I say we.
It is a we though.
Yeah, you know, that wherever we go, they come with us.
Yeah.
It's not a me thing, it's a we thing.
Exactly.
And further to that, talk to us about this new podcast that you've started, which is kind of along those lines with a little bit of a twist.
Yeah, so my friend Johnson and I have been talking about a podcast in the works for over a year. We're still sort of unsure on a name just yet, but I guess the whole gist of it is that it's a Māori and Pacifica podcast. It's a fusion of the two different cultural lenses and having a look at different issues or kaupapa that are quite taboo within our cultures and speaking to it. I think a lot of it is about kōrero, wānanga, and so you're not alone, and it's been quite amazing talking to so many different people, life experiences, but there's a common theme of how that culture, you know, I guess, what's the word? It defines our cultural identity and how we fit with others. So it's really exciting. It's probably my first time being on the other side of the mic and asking the questions, but I'm really enjoying it, and to see where it takes off is quite exciting.
I actually got the chance to have a little kōrero with you both as well, and I'm still gobsmacked at the things that, you know, I've taken away that happened in life to get to where you are in kind of a career. But it's funny that, you know, so many life experiences are similar.
Yeah.
Like kōrero to kōrero would be quite similar, and it's just real, but it's cool at the same time. So my father is from India, my mother is Māori from Te Puke, and it was just really interesting to have that kōrero with you about how those two
worlds combine.
Exactly, or sometimes collide. But but I mean, is that something that you really wanted to hone in on, is, you know, that where people fit in the world?
Yeah, definitely. I think our main priority was this as a podcast by our people, for our people, and something that people could relate to. And I guess the first season that we're looking at is primarily focusing on people of mixed race. And I think that's such an interesting world, as you would know and have experiences, that how do you fuse two cultures? How do you feel comfortable, or do you feel comfortable standing in both worlds confidently? It's something that I'm not as of mixed race. I do have many races, but how I look at my own perspective, I can stand in can I stand in a Māori world confidently? Can I stand in a Pākehā world confidently? And it's very different. So I'm loving hearing the stories. I'm loving seeing some really interesting mix. Punjab, Māori, we had a Cook Island, and from Ghana. Some
That's amazing.
really beautiful mixes that aren't common.
Yeah.
But still there's that common themes, those common threads that people can relate to.
Well, I must say that we do need more of this. We do need more kōrero, we need more openness to really relate to each other and, like yourself, find our way in this big, crazy world of ours.
I know, right?
But thank you so much for joining us. We will be watching with anticipation for this, you know, hopeful whakapapa round with the ANZ Premiership. I know I'd be a huge advocate for that myself, and if and when it happens, we'll have you back on that seat telling us all about it.
Can't wait.
Ka pai.